Hello and welcome back to the Fulhamish YouTube channel. My name is Don Betts, and on today's video, we're looking ahead to Saturday's big match at London Stadium against West Ham. And joining me to look ahead to it is Dan Lawless from West Ham Fan TV. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, not bad, mate. Thanks for having me on. Good to be here to preview the game. Nice and early in the week.
Yeah, it's going to be a very, very interesting game. Obviously, I was fairly worried once when I saw the fixture and West Ham's rising form, but obviously Fulham got their first win this season on Monday night against West Brom. But if we start at West Ham, what have you sort of made of to your start to the season so far, Dan?
Taking a Newcastle game out of the way. Obviously, that was the first game and was not a good performance, and that looks to be a bit of a blip because I think from the Arsenal game to the Liverpool game, I think we've had consistently good performances, and even say the Arsenal game, we deserve to, if not win it, get a point at least, because I thought, if you look at the stats, we were the better team in that. And then, we go up against Leicester, beat them 3-0, beat Wolves 4-0, have a dramatic comeback against Tottenham, scoring 3 goals there, get a point against Man City, and then, come so close to getting something at Anfield. And, that penalty, for me, it's still a sore point because I don't think it was a penalty. But still, really, really good performances against, these teams that are all, in and around Europe. So, yeah, I'm really happy with the start to the season.
Because obviously last season was a very painful one for most West Ham fans. They're definitely looking at that bottom three and potentially being in the Championship in such a big stadium for this season. What is the aim for West Ham this season? I mean, do you see the club having an aim this season, or is it, again, the club are just looking at survival and then anything above that is a bonus?
Yeah, I think that's probably Moyes' objective from the board. I think that's the expectation. It's now, we came so close last season. What we really need is a bit of stability. And what we really need now is to improve and not come so close to going down and avoiding that relegation battle. We're not looking at Europe this season or all of that and Europa Leagues and these things. If we can get a top half finish, that's great. But for me, I just want us to see us get away from that relegation battle. And I think that's probably what the board's expectation are of Moyes. So I think as long as if we have a fairly stable season, we don't look like we're going on a terrible run, and it looks shaky, I think he'll keep his job and maybe get a new contract as well.
Do you think that would be the right decision to make for West Ham, to keep David Moyes beyond the length of his current deal? Or do you think he's sort of stabilised? Well, if you have a successful season this season, he's stabilised the club, and then is it time for someone with new, fresh ideas to take the club, pushing for those top 7 or 8 places, which a lot of West Hams think he should be doing?
Yeah, it's a tough one, because look, I've never been David Moyes' biggest fan. I've criticised him in the past. I wasn't thrilled when we got him. However, I think that we need that further stability. Even if he just keeps us up this season, I think we need season after season of stability and the constant change in, to go from, we went from Big Sam, obviously, and then to a completely different manager like Slaven Bilic. And then from Slaven Bilic going to David Moyes, and then going from a David Moyes style manager to Pellegrini, then from Pellegrini back to David Moyes. So there's all these changes we keep having to go through, these different ideas and philosophies and these different players each manager's brought in. We need to have a few seasons under one manager to stabilise and get the players to understand and play that manager's way and bring in the players that can play for that manager. I think if you start to look at, right, let's bring in, especially under this board, and that's the problem, is we haven't got the board and the ownership who are smart enough to then bring in and maybe an exciting manager and being able to support them in the way that they'd need support. So, yeah, regardless on my feelings of Moyes, if he's in the process of winning me over, the Fulham game is going to go towards that. If we can get something out of that, if we can get a win, that will go towards him winning me over. But regardless, I think we need to stability and keep him for a few years.
Do you think that when we're talking about, if West Ham can push into that top half and push for challenging for, top 7 or 8 places, so what have Wolves has done really in the last 2 seasons, that sort of position in the table, do you think West Ham can get there with this board, or do you think it simply is a fact of they're not going to challenge for Europe or the European places at least, until there's a new board and new ownership at the club?
Yeah, I honestly think we've we've massively peaked under them, and that season, that last season at Upton Park, that was just the peak under them, and that was just us getting, not completely qualifying for Europe. It's getting into that Europa League qualifying stages, but I think that's it, and I think they're only just taking us backwards. And that's when you look at a club like Wolves, I think that they've got very sensible ownership with, a plan and an ability to go through with that plan and can employ the right people in the right job. And the thing is, David Sullivan fancies himself as a director of football. He fancies himself as someone who knows a player, and he's really not. He got his start in adult entertainment. He made his fortune on not football, and he's just shoehorned himself into it. So yeah, I honestly cannot see. I have no aspirations as long as we're under this ownership.
So if we look at this season and the transfer business you did go and do in the summer, obviously the side Ben Rama transfer sort of was just hanging over everyone for the entirety of the window, and he finally got it done on that loan deal. But apart from that, obviously you brought in Craig Dawson in on loan. Thomas Soucek came in obviously on a permanent deal. Obviously, and the main one that everyone was talking about was obviously Grady Diangana going to West Brom on a permanent deal, and a lot of West fans were very frustrated about it. What was so frustrating about that Grady Diangana deal going away? Did you think he could have made a big impact for the Hammers this season?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, look, we was really excited about him progressing this season based on his performance in the Championship last season. We were looking at a lot of Championship players, including Eze from QPR and obviously Ben Rama and things like that. And it's like, okay, so we have this player who played really well in the Championship and contributed to West Brom going up. And it's an academy player. He's been with the club since he was a young boy. He was happy. He wanted to stay. The players wanted him to stay. The manager wanted him to stay. So there was just a good feeling around the club, but not necessarily like, okay, now we have these high expectations of him to just light the Premier League up this season, but a real chance for him to progress and contribute. And then for them to just sell him like that, just so quickly to West Brom. Like, it's not like, okay, like a top club like Man City's coming from him. It's a club that we might end up having to battle relegation with, and we've just strengthened them. I mean, they couldn't believe it. So just the whole way it went about was just so frustrating. And then to cap it off, the fact of we haven't actually spent that money, that makes it even worse, because we've spent 4 million on so far, and we've brought Ben Rama in on loan. So yeah, massively frustrating.
So would you say this transfer window basically just typifies what the West Ham board have been about for the last few years?
Yeah, it has. I mean, it's just been so frustrating. Where they left everything so late, you can tell they didn't want to spend. They was resistant, but then like West Brom came in for that offer, they snatched their hand off, and they still, from that Diangana deal, they still was slow to act. And then they're getting into this Ben Rama deal, and they ask for this much. They obviously offer less, and that's obviously negotiations. But then it's like last minute you try and change it to a loan deal, which could have massively backfired. It's just always a circus around us in transfers. That's the problem, and it's all our business is very public, more than it seems like any other club. So yeah, it is. It's just a massive bone of frustration. We was told we haven't got any money because of coronavirus as well, and we saw other clubs spending as well. So that was frustrating. It's all these mixed signals and contradictions, and yeah, honestly, it was a really frustrating window for me. I could not wait for that window to close one way or another.
So if we go back and look at obviously your start to the season so far, obviously there was that Newcastle game. Do you think that was just a wake-up call and it was sort of treated like a pre-season friendly as opposed to the first Premier League game of the season? Because obviously then you went into the Arsenal game and you were very unlucky in that game, as you said. And then you had 2 back-to-back wins with 2 clean sheets as well against good teams in Wolves and Leicester. And then, you've got a point against Manchester City and you've got a point against Tottenham. You were very unlucky against Liverpool. Do you think that opening game really was a massive wake-up call to the side?
Yeah, I think it was a mixture of that, and it obviously being the first game of the season. Sometimes it just happens. Sometimes you're not fully prepared, and also it was us changing our formation. I think from that Newcastle game and playing this back five, I think has helped us massively because now we're getting a lot out of Aaron Creswell, as he's part of that now he's playing at centre back as part of that back three. And Arthur Masuaku actually getting to play as a wing back. He's been a revelation there. And then obviously Antonio has been amazing. So I think we've been able to get the best out of the players that we've got playing this formation. Ryan Fredericks, was really good as a wing back before he got injured. He was playing really well there. It seemed to be much more suited to that role as well in this formation. Obviously, he got injured and now Sofal's come in. So yeah, it just seems like our players just fit this system that we're playing much better. And I think it's good that Moyes has tinkered with it. It's going to be interesting to see how we play against you guys. But yeah, I'm liking it so far. So I think it was just that massively put it down to that change of formation.
Do you think that's what maybe is the difference between the West Ham team this season and the West Ham team last season? Is that maybe last season the system and the players you were playing were sort of square pegs in round holes, and you finally found a way to fit in all your best players and to play it in a manner that will get you results?
Yeah, I think that's definitely part of it. I think that's definitely a big part of it because when you look at it, take Sofal out of the equation. So before that, obviously, and if you got Ryan Fredericks in there, like that's none of them are new signings. Even Souček came in January, so it's not like okay, the difference has been this new signing. It's literally the same personnel, but now a different formation and a different philosophy. And I think that has really worked. Like we're creating so many more chances now, and we're scoring goals. The only game we didn't score in was the Newcastle game. Every game we've scored goals. We've got a positive goal difference coming out of that run of games. Playing against the Arsenal, Wolves, Leicester, Tottenham, Man City, Liverpool with a positive +3 goal difference. That just shows. It's from an attacking point. People look at it maybe okay, back five is a bit more defensive, but it's obviously we're getting a lot more out of the team from an attacking standpoint. Even without Antonio, obviously we scored against Liverpool. So yeah, that's a big positive and a big improvement.
Yeah, because I remember a lot of people saying after you came out of that Newcastle game, and yeah, it was a very, very poor performance. And they looked at this run of games up until the Fulham game, and it was like West Ham could be on the same amount of points as Fulham by that point if they're going to play like they did against Newcastle. But you guys have turned it around. So if we're looking ahead to the Fulham game on the weekend, it's not like saying, it's a must win, but it must be a game that you guys are going into fairly confident, even though obviously we did get our first win of the season, but it was against a very poor West Brom side. This is a game that realistically should be, if West Ham home game against a team who are going to be fighting a relegation battle in Fulham, in ourselves, that this really should be your bread and butter for getting a win, really.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I'm actually really nervous going into this game because I've seen it so many times. It's, we turn up against the teams much higher up the table. We've done it. We've put great performances and everyone thinks West Ham's going to do something. And then the teams in and around us, the teams where we might be looking to maybe expected or hoping to really do well against and pick up points is where we fall short. And, I think this is really going to be almost a season defining game, just in terms of showing where we are at and where we've progressed, to see if we can turn up to this game and actually show Fulham some respect and not think that okay, just because we've turned up against these other good teams and putting great performance against these top teams, it's going to be Fulham's going to be a rollover, and I hope that they saw that result against West Brom. And as poor as West Brom have been, Fulham have shown that they're not dead yet. They can score goals. So I just hope that was a little bit of an eye opening to say, right, we need to be on our game. And this issue, to me, we have to win it. We have to win to show, we're not just about turning up against the big games, because that is key. We struggled with that quite a lot last season, is beating the teams in and around us. So yeah, this for me, this game is huge. It's really, really huge. And even a point, if we get a point, it's still not going to show enough progress. Man, I really want to win just to see that progress. Say, okay, cool, we can turn up against the Liverpools and the Man Cities, but we can still come against Fulham and do a good job. And it's going to be interesting because we're not going to be. We've been playing teams where we've been expected to give up a bit more possession. Now in the Fulham game, it's not going to be a situation where we can look to counter, and we're going to have to play a completely different way. And to see, that's going to be a big test for Moyes to see if he can do that. If he can look at Fulham and go, okay, right, this is how I need to set up to really get the most out of it. Maybe we're expected to maybe be a little bit more on the front foot in this game, especially at home. So, yeah, this is big. This game is big, and I'm nervous, but I'm really excited just to see what we do, how we set up. I can't imagine how we're going to set up. Obviously, Antonio is still out, which is a big loss, but it's huge game for me. Nervous and excited.
Yeah, I think it's a massive game for both sides because as Fulham fans, we want to see us build on something after that West Brom victory, whether that is just getting a point to keep the momentum rolling. And obviously, if we're looking at our victory against West Brom, usually this season, in a home game, we like against Palace, for example, we had 65% possession, but got like 2 or 3 shots on target. Yeah, and to come yesterday, we only had 45% possession against a team like West Brom. Yeah, we were the only team that looked like scoring goals. So I think Scott Parker's learned that in the Premier League, we probably do need to surrender, not play a different way to we did last season. And that's to be fair, when we take a lead in the game, I'm fairly confident at us getting a result. I think our record is something. Like in whole of the championship last season, whenever we took the lead in the game, we hadn't lost, and obviously we continued that record, getting the first goal against West Brom, and then when we took the first goal against Sheffield United, we got a point there as well. But if you're looking at this game, what are you looking to see from West Ham in the game? Is it that you can turn up for these type of games?
Yeah, definitely. That's what I'm looking at to see. Right, okay, the teams in and around us, the teams below in the bottom half of the table, which includes us, that we can turn up and we can find a way to win and assert ourselves in the game. And that's the thing. If you guys, and I think it would be probably wise for Scott Parker to look at that and maybe he can keep things a bit more tighter at the back and pick his spots and surrender up that possession a bit, because that might catch us out. That might be something that it takes us time to figure out when teams are a little bit more compact. How do we find some space and find a way to break them down? I think that will be probably a smart tactic for Scott Parker, but I want to know that we have got it in us, because I think we've got some creative players. And we need to show that, we can, with possession, we can keep creating chances still, even if you guys are going to be maybe playing more of your players further back, but also keeping that concentration, because a lot of the time when you have got the possession so much, the defense can lose that concentration because they're not as much under pressure. And sometimes it can be easier to catch them out. So I just want to see all of our players switched on. And again, I want to see us paying you guys, some respect when you come, and not respect in the terms of we're going to be like, right, we're going to be playing defensive and giving it up, but we're going to say, right, we need to expect for them to come and really give us a game. So, yeah, I think it's definitely just going to be for both sides, it's going to be an interesting one in terms of what we do. Like you said, you want to see now if you can build on a really good result and see what you can do against a team who's in, good form. Because I think if you was to beat us, even though we're not, it's not the same as, like, say, beating a Man City or something, but to have a team that has had consistent good performances and you guys can even put in a good performance yourselves, I think that'd be huge for you guys. So, yeah, I think it's one to watch. I think it'd be one to watch for the neutrals. Just if you're just interested in football, I think it's a really interesting one tactically to see. And I think that's what it's going to be down to, the managers, who can get their tactics right. So if you're into stuff like that, I think it's going to be an interesting game.
Obviously, if we look at from Fulham's victory against West Brom, Mitrovic actually, instead of scoring, got both the assists for the goals. One was a cross to the back stick, head across with Bobby Reid, and the other one was a layoff for Ola Aina to get his first goal for the club. Obviously, Mitrovic is a player that will worry most defences and most teams' fans in the league. Is that the area where you're worried that Fulham caused the most trouble with those deep crosses to Mitrovic at the back post ahead, not either towards goal or for the second balls for our attacking midfielders?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, obviously, Mitrovic, he's a player that a lot of our fans wanted us to sign before you guys got him. Because I think didn't you have him on loan first?
Yeah, so I think he was at went Newcastle to and then went on loan to us. He was supposed to go to Anderlecht, and then
Yeah.
somehow we stole him off and had him for the last 6 months of the season, got us promoted, and then we signed him in the following summer in 18-19.
Yeah, I remember when you kept him when you went down. I thought that was a huge statement and a really big signing. So I think, yeah, he's definitely someone I think that we'll be worried about. And like you said, them crosses and into the back post and him heading it in, that has been an area of weakness for us quite a few times when we've conceded goals. It's that awareness a lot of the time, and sometimes getting caught ball watching. So if his movement, I think, is good enough on the day, I think he can definitely cause our defenders some problems and give us something to worry about for sure. Like, them sort of balls in. So I'm just hoping, with if we do still keep those three defenders at the back, and then you've got someone like Declan Rice, who is a defensive midfielder, but he's naturally a defender, can drop in at the same time, and Sofao as well, who's been quite good defensively, and hopefully those players can be on it. And Moyes is going to be showing them, right, look, and they should be watching the West Brom game. I think they should always, the defenders especially, should be watching it and going, right, what can we learn? And same as Moyes. So, yeah, I think you've got a lot of threat in that respect. Yeah, definitely.
So if you're looking at West Ham going forward, which players do you think will be causing Fulham the most trouble after what you've seen in the last month or so with your good run of form?
Yeah, I mean, it's a massive conundrum for us as to who's actually going to play. Because, again, like, if we've got to change things up, like Fornals has been brilliant for us. Really hard worker. Jared Bowen as well. Some good attacking players. But, it's the question of, do we bring in a Lanzini or a Benrahma, players that are a bit trickier and maybe can create a bit more? The big thing of Sebastian Haller started against Liverpool. This is the thing where we've got Antonio out. Haller's our only actual true striker. But our problem has been having him so isolated and not having players around him for him to play off and to help create times, get the ball to his feet, and I think if we do that, I think we can tend to be quite toothless. But if we can find a way to get players a bit closer to Haller, whether we play Jared Bowen with him or we play a Benrahma with him, I think he can really cause problems. I think this is a game where he could get quite a bit of confidence. Before in the cup, in the Carabao Cup, he was scoring for fun, and the same in pre-season. So he's got that threat. It's just about getting the ball to his feet. And I think Pablo Fornals, if he does play, who is more work rate than creative, but he's on really good form when it comes to goals and assists. So he's a player definitely that can be what you can watch out for. And Masuaku as well. After Masuaku at left wing back, I think he's that sort of player that can run the channels. He can take players on and put in some really good balls into the box. And I think he could be key for Haller and maybe him in the air. I'm not sure what you guys are like defending in the air, but yeah, so I think that's definitely our danger points. But again, it's even West Ham fans can't really predict what team it is you're going to face on Saturday, because it is, again, it's such a different type of side than we've faced in this past 5 odd games.
If you were to predict how David Moyes is going to approach this game with his lineup, what would you say, or if you were choosing, what would you go with?
Yeah, it's a tough one, because it's like no players, right? None of the regular players deserve to be dropped. And so if we was to go from a back 5 to a 4, either Creswell, Masuaku, or Fornals would have to come out. For the purposes of this game, I think where we do want to assert ourselves and we're not going to be looking to play as deep, we could switch to a back 4 and play Creswell back, put him back at left back, and have Masuaku actually as a left winger, and then maybe bring out a player like, maybe give Fornals a rest. And then maybe if we've got then Masuaku playing closer to Haller, he can help create some more chances for him. And then you've got Bowen, who can operate as a striker and play him a lot closer to Allaire. And actually, if we can get Benrahma in, I think this would be a really good game for him to get his confidence up. So yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing us play in like a 4-2-3 type of formation or something like that. That's an option. If we did play the 5, I wouldn't mind seeing us play the 5, but rather than set us up to play so deep, maybe play the wing backs a little bit further forward. Give Rice and Souček's a box-to-box midfielder, so he's great at getting forward. So give them license to go forward, and then get our wingers a little bit tighter into Allaire. So we've got options there. I don't think it'll be work if we just play exactly the same way we played against Liverpool and Man City and all of that. We need to just focus on getting further forward. So yeah, it's a headache for Moyes. It is a real headache I think he's got on his hands for this game in terms of what he goes with.
And lastly, if I've got to push you for a score prediction for the game, what are you going to go with?
That's a tough one. That is a tough one. I think this is a game we can definitely get goals in. We have been scoring for fun. I can see us getting caught out an odd time. I'm going to say 3-1 West Ham if I'm feeling confident, which could come back to bite me massively because we can West Ham it up and end up losing the other way around. But if I'm going to be confident, I'll say 3-1 West Ham.
Yeah, as you said, I think it is one of those games where no one really knows what to expect. They don't know. We don't know what West Ham's going to turn up. We don't really know if it's going to be the Fulham against West Brom or is it going to be the Fulham against Crystal Palace. But yeah, it's going to be a very interesting game, and not just for obviously Fulham and West Ham, but as you said, the neutral. I think it's going to be a very interesting game because it's either a point where Fulham can build momentum on a good win against West Brom, or you guys can really make a statement by saying we're not just going to be fighting relegation this season. We are going to be pushing for a hopeful top 10 finish. But that'll be all for today's video on the Fulhamish YouTube channel. I want to thank Dan Lawless from West Ham Fan TV for coming on, looking ahead to Saturday's big game.
Yeah, really appreciate you for having me on, mate. And yeah, it's been a good one to talk about because, like I said, I am really, really excited and really interested for this game. So, no, thanks for having me on and getting to talk about it. And I look forward to seeing what happens either way. But yeah, best of luck for the rest of the season. Hopefully, you guys stay up, and get your momentum going. Just not against us on Saturday.
Yeah, it should be a very, very good game, no matter what the result is. With Fulham travel to West Ham in that big game on Sunday evening at 8 o'clock. So, yeah, I've been Don Betts. This has been the Fulhamish YouTube channel. We'll see you guys next time.